And that's great. Now you moved on into more AI roles, as you mentioned, and you're currently focusing, I guess, on the intersection between AI and writing as one of the topics. Um, and I think there is one of these skills that is really required to drive innovation. Sometimes maybe underrated is it's storytelling.
Mhm.
And so storytelling and writing is obviously connected to a very big degree. So let's say if someone's listening right now and they wanted to improve their own storytelling skills
Mhm.
in business, in innovation, private life, whatever, where should they start? And what are some of the biggest mistakes to avoid when crafting a good story?
Yeah, it's a great question, and like you said, it's a highly, highly underrated skill. Back when I was at PayPal, we would bring in speakers all the time. It was one of my favorite parts of the job. So I would bring in authors and other people and just get to interview them in front of a crowd and record it and all this stuff. And one of the favorite things I got to do was to actually bring in storytellers, people who would like do cartoons or like all these different forms of storytelling as part of it. And it was important to build out this culture of innovation because, like you said, if you can't craft your story, if you can't get others to respond to that, um, no matter how great your idea is, no matter how wonderfully you can build a product, if you can't convince others to follow you along in this amazing journey that you're about to go on, then it's never going to work. It's never going to succeed because we as humans, we respond to stories. We always have. You could give, the I hate to quote Stalin here, but it's what a million deaths is a million deaths is a tragedy. A single death is I'm sorry, a million deaths is a statistic. Single tragedy. Screw that quote up. You get the point though. But that's what we respond to. Numbers are important. Look, I started off in data science at PayPal and doing that. I mean,
Mhm.
numbers are critical, but even in the world of numbers, you need to be able to tell and convey the story around it. Whether you're an entrepreneur looking to raise money, or whether you're building a product and looking for people to use it. It doesn't matter what field you're in, stories at the key. So for anybody to tell better stories, the first thing is it's hard. The best writers, it's not about writing, but it's about rewriting. It's
Mhm.
again and again and again. The reason why most people, and this is true, ChatGPT, Claude, all the large language models today largely stink at generating long form stories. It's because literally they are generating these in a one shot process, meaning word for word for word for word, it just spits it all out. Humans don't write that way. If you're writing a story, be it a business story, a fiction story, whatever it is, you will jump around. You will go back, be like, wait a minute, this doesn't fit in. Oh, I got to this part. I should bring in something here. You write in a very nonlinear fashion. And it's all about doing it again and again. And frankly, it's about getting feedback. I mean, as part of my going back to school 4 years ago to get a degree in writing, the most valuable thing I've learned from is the peers in my class. When you write a story, you think it's awesome, you give it to 15 people and they give you very candid feedback of like, yeah, this doesn't really work, or, you should try this. Like, that's what makes it better. And I don't care who you are as a writer, Stephen King or John Grisham or whoever it is out there, you're getting feedback on your stories again and again. And that process, that collective process is what makes it better.
Yeah, and I mean, so when you construct a story, uh, for example, around a new idea, what is the starting point? Is it the vision? Is it the audience? Is it the emotional core? How you make somebody feel? Can you maybe break down, the process step by step?
So the one thing I will say, one of my favorite managers at PayPal, he actually printed out these sheets for his entire team. And on the sheet was just a list of emotions. And he gave it to everybody who was on his team. And he said, whenever you're giving a presentation, I don't care how big or how small, I want you to circle the two things that you want your audience to feel at the end. Do you want them to feel informed? Do you want them to be excited? Do you want, whatever it might be? And this was, at first I was like, "Oh, come on, like really, I'm just here to tell them the product status meeting for how things have gone in the last week." But it really made me stop and think like, oh no, there's much more than this than just a status update. Like, do I want them to be excited? Do I want them to take this very seriously, be concerned, or whatever it might be? Like, when you have that emotion and think about what it is that you want to convey to your audience, that's key. So I think that's part one of your question, Chris. The other part that I think is so important in storytelling is really just structuring the story, and what is it in the story that is going to resonate with what your customer wants. Like, how do you tell that story in a way that is actually solving a problem for whomever that customer is? And I apologize because I know I'm jumping between fiction and business world a little bit here, so I apologize for that. But like, in the business world, structuring that story, it really has to be around like, okay, what is the need for my customer that I am solving through this? And what's the story, the journey they go around? I mean, if you're a startup and you're going to see a venture capitalist to try and raise money, the 3 minutes or 30 minutes, depending on the type of VC, the type of pitch that you have, it's all about story. This is what exists in the world today. This is the awful experience that these customers have, and this is the problems that they have, and this is how we solve that problem and fix it. And that is how every single VC pitch goes. It is just storytelling.
It is. What is, from your experience, the typical, set of feelings that you want, the listener, the audience, whatever the target group, to feel in the end? Is it like, that feeling that they're in control, feeling secure, feeling that they don't lose their job if it's a B2B context, or maybe for PayPal customers, something else? Yeah. So what's kind of the typical end state feelings that you've seen being used the most?
Yeah, look, I would say it really varies, the types of feelings. I think the simple fallbacks are always, well, you want them to be informed, you want them to feel confidence, you want them to feel whatever. To me, those are almost like the easy level one ones. But when you really start to get a little bit deeper, like, I mean, it depends on the scenario. If you're pitching venture capitalists about a business idea that you have, that's not what you want them to feel. You want them to feel, excited, and you want them to feel that, boy, you as a pitch person are competent. That's not really an emotion to feel, but like, I would say I would put that in there as well. Like, boy, this person knows their stuff. But they're also humble enough to be able to say, okay, I don't know everything. I will pivot. I will figure things out as I need to. But wow, I want to get on board for this amazing future that they see, and I'm inspired by that. So those are the types of things that I would do. Like, for anybody doing this, like, you can, just Google like list of emotions or something like this, and you could kind of print out your own one. Like, you don't have to use the same one that we used at PayPal or anything like that. Like, you can find these lists just about anywhere online and kind of choose which ones are right for you for whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah, but that's a great hack. And what do you think, from your experience, what makes a story stick? So when you leave the meeting, whatever, when you leave the boardroom, when you leave the VC stage, whatever it is, what makes it memorable? So you go out there, and the next day is like, I remember that story, or I've heard this, and then you carry that story, with you for many weeks and months. Is it the way it's told, the emotional connection, sense of urgency? Is there something in there that makes stories stick more than others?
I think being personal and being specific are the two things. So when I look back at PayPal, the things that I actually remember most are like the stories, the events, the things, the outliers, and so forth. I remember one time we were working on a financial inclusion product. So this was something for the financially underserved. And in the United States, we have things called check cashing places. So you would go into a place, let's say you get paid every 2 weeks, and it's a week before your actual payday. You need money now because your car broke down or whatever the reason might be. And you go to a check cashing place and say, hey, I need money today for my car, but I'm going to get paid in 2 weeks. So basically, that's the whole process. So it's like a very short-term loan at a ridiculously high interest rate, as you can imagine. It's something, 200 to 400% interest rate is often what you could pay for something like that. And so one of the people who was working on this, and myself, and look, this is for something the financially underserved. This was not for typical PayPal employees. So most employees building this product had never gone to these places, taught to people who had gone to these places and so forth, but never actually did it themselves. And one time, just the two of us, we were like, okay, let's go there. Like, there's nothing to say if you make a certain amount of money, you can't come here or anything like that. And frankly, I had all these perceived notions of how I would be treated, all this other kind of stuff. And so the two of us went and we cashed our checks. And we did that, and we got this super short-term loan for an amount of money. And then we reported that back to the team. And I tell you, like, us telling that story gave us more attention, credibility, whatever it is that you want to say, like with the rest of the team as part of that. Because again, we had talked to hundreds and hundreds of customers. We had data, we had all this stuff. But like the thing that resonated with people was like, oh, Mike and Prashanthi, who's the other person I was with, like, yeah, they actually went and they did this thing. They experienced that firsthand. And that was super valuable. And again, the hour that it took to do that, and then conveying that to the team working on the project and using that as the story and the experience out there was something that no amount of just interviews and surveys would be able to convey.
Yeah. And would you say there are some nuances when you're telling a story to, different audiences? So, engineers, executives, customers, or potential customers, without actually diluting the core message? So do you have to adapt, or is it always the same core? What did you do?
No, you absolutely should change your message depending on who the audience is. And it starts probably with that sheet. Like, how do you want people to feel, and what is it that you want to get out of it? I always use the example of starting a company because I think that's something many, hopefully, of your listeners can relate to here. If you're starting something, you are going to give a completely different pitch to a potential customer than you would to a potential investor, than you would to a potential employee. You're always going to be pivoting, changing that story, altering what it is. You got to get into the mind of the customer, of what they want, what incentivizes them. How is it that you can talk their language? It is, and this is even true if like you're interviewing at a company to get a job. If you're interviewing to get a job, you're trying to solve a problem that company has. And you need to be able to convince them through story, through example, through all of these things, that you are the uniquely qualified person that is going to be able to fix their problem. And it's through storytelling that you do that. So yeah, I think, Chris, depending on the audience, you are always changing the way that you're telling the story, the content that you're including, the content that you're excluding, because you just always need to be focused on, well, what is it that my audience wants? And what is it that, for me, the important thing that I want to convey or get in the end of this discussion?